Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Elon Musk and his co-president Donald Trump have spent the first 3 weeks of their presidency attempting a full assault on the separated powers of the Constitution. Full stop. Now, they've done this despite controlling Congress, both houses, Senate and House, and the Supreme Court, along with the White House. Think about that for a second. You come in, you've got the rare trifecta, but Trump and Musk are not passing any bills to accomplish their goals. Instead, an unelected billionaire is basically working unilaterally to dismantle the federal government with zero transparency, zero disclosures of conflicts of interest. And he's causing profound material harm and damage here in the U.S. and across the world as he does it. To that end, the two men held a deeply strange publicity stunt in the Oval Office today. Musk was there to defend his work against what has been something of a PR disaster out of the gate. Trump signed yet another executive order, this time granting Musk and his staffers further authority to slash the federal workforce and remake the government in Musk's image.
At a high level, if you say, what is the goal of DOGE and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have?
You've received billions of dollars in federal contracts when it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president, I know, has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact-check this, apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas, actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly.
Well, no one asked you, is the thing, actually, like where we should be spending our money. Actually, because there is democratic accountability, we elect people, members of Congress, in the House and Senate, and the president to come up with a funding package like the one they passed in December. And point of fact on the public disclosures, none of it's been public as far as I know. Most of what we know about DOGE has come from independent reporters that Elon Musk has essentially threatened with criminal prosecution for doing their reporting. Nobody voted for Elon Musk to run the government. To that point, Trump addressed why Congress, which again, I can't stress this enough, his party controls, doesn't just pass laws to accomplish what he wants.
If I need a vote of Congress to find fraud and abuse, it's fine with me. I think we'll get the vote, although there'll be some people that wouldn't vote. And how could a judge want to hold us back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence? Why would that happen? Why would even Congress want to do that? Now, Congress, if we do need a vote, I think we'd get a very easy vote.
A lot to say about his sort of disinterested, sort of observer to his own presidency posture here. But did you notice what he slipped in there about judges? Trump actually took a couple shots at the federal judiciary today. And while he claimed he would abide by any ruling against him, his remarks did not inspire a lot of confidence.
It seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. And we want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you comply?
Well, I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. The answer is, I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But appeals take a long time, and I would hope that a judge, if you go into a judge and you show him, here's a corrupt situation, we have a check to be sent, but we found it to be corrupt. Do you want us to send this corrupt check to a person, or do you want us not to give it and give it back to the taxpayer? I would hope a judge would say, don't send it, give it back to the taxpayer.
But what's the corruption exactly you're talking about? Like the condoms, 50 million of condoms that were going to Gaza, we should be trust as corrupt, even though it wasn't $50 million of condoms going to Gaza. I mean, to be clear, it's no small task to get a federal court to block actions from a sitting president. You have to go to court, make an argument, win over judges of all ideological stripes appointed by presidents from Ronald Reagan to Joe Biden to Trump himself. And yet time and time again, judges have found what Musk and Trump are doing to be so plausibly illegal and facially reckless that they have taken the rather significant step of telling him to stop while the courts take more time to figure out just exactly what's happening here and if it conforms with the law. In fact, 3 separate federal judges have ruled against Trump's executive order attempting to end birthright citizenship, written into the Constitution in the plain text, including just yesterday by a judge appointed by George W. Bush, and last week by a judge appointed by Ronald Reagan, who declared from the bench, "It has become ever more apparent that to our president, the rule of law is but an impediment to his policy goals. The rule of law is, according to him, something to navigate around or simply ignore, whether that be for political or personal gain. Nevertheless, in this courtroom and under my watch, the rule of law is a bright beacon which I intend to follow." Similarly, judges have paused Trump's attempts to buy out federal workers with that random fork in the road email backed by no law from Congress and no actual guarantees they'll get what they want. The attempts to cut medical research grants in Alzheimer's, cancer, and other treatments, including basically laying waste to all of American science and biomedical research. To delete government websites from federal health agencies, to fire top government ethics watchdogs, to put thousands of USAID workers on leave, to freeze large, indeed enormous swaths of constitutionally appropriated federal funding. On that last point, a judge again condemned Trump this week for not complying with that order. Again, that sort of gets the problem here. Trump says he will abide by the judges. How much we believe him, I don't know. He's not exactly acting like it. I mean, even after that judge took Trump to task for defying his order yesterday, one of Trump's officials at FEMA ignored the judge and demanded a freeze in grant funding anyway. We've got the memo. NBC News, great reporting. As we like to say on the show, the future's unwritten. Maybe Trump's going to be good to his word. He will abide by all future court orders. That said, what Trump said today is worth contrasting with what his inner circle have been talking about for a while, which is ignoring the courts. I mean, Trump's own vice president has been advocating for doing that since 2021.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And when the courts, because you will get taken to court, and then when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
So they haven't been shy on this. By the way, you think it's a good idea to fire, I don't know, every air traffic controller in the country right now? Over the weekend, Vance again said judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. Trump himself has mused publicly about a diminished judicial oversight of his presidency, including during an interview yesterday.
It's going to be dramatic, and it's a shame what's happening, Mark. It's really a shame, but judges should be ruling. They shouldn't be dictating what you're supposed to be doing.
There's some debates unfolding right now about what exactly would qualify as a constitutional crisis. Are we in one? Seems to me we've been one for a long time, certainly since the aftermath of the 2020 election. But the core issue is that Musk and Trump are acting as if they hold absolute power, even though they do not. That's the source of the crisis. They are, in that sense, bluffing, but it's a bluff they want to turn into a new reality, one that destroys the American constitutional order in favor of a corrupt strongman and a rule by a little clique of oligarchs. What Trump wants to do is to rule us, not represent us. But the people he does, in fact, represent, the hundreds of millions of us, are going to have something to say about that.